every single day. We do know quite a bit about it. And there's certain things that can be, understood about it that we have a good grasp of, and probably things that are more theoretical, but the fact is it doesn't make any wild guess about universal origins suddenly credible just because you can say, well, nobody really knows what happened before the Big Bang.
Right.
So therefore, it could be Zeus. Well, yeah, but there could be 150,000 die in here too.
In that case, though, and I think this actually touches on a slightly different. I can still see part of whatever the hell is on that signal. In that case,
podcasting live from Mars.
I think this touches on a slightly different aspect of this, in which, for example, with regard to Big Bang cosmology.
Sure.
The only fair answer is to say we don't know. And so when somebody asserts an answer or two, like, for example, God or Yahweh, those two answers I wouldn't say are equally probable, but there's a distinct difference between which answer is more accurate, I don't know, or God.
Right.
And in this case, the I don't know case, I'm saying, I don't know. I'm not even going to be able to give you too much in the way of characteristics before this. This is something that is actually beyond our ability to really assess. In the future,
right,
it may be possible. Maybe we'll learn something new about science that will give us the ability to extrapolate further than the point time, etc. But when I say God did it, I mean something by God. I'm not just saying I don't know. I'm saying I know, and it's this thing right here, and I have some definition of it. It is then the case where we're not just talking about something completely abstract that we don't have any concept of. The person making the assertion has in their mind some concept, some list of characteristics that apply, that fit the label God. In that case, you are required, if we're going to have any conversation, to tell me what those characteristics are. Because if in the course of assessing those characteristics we find that some of them are logically contradictory, we can eliminate that as a possibility even if we don't know anything else about it. Sure. And if you come up with characteristics that contradict other known aspects of reality, then we can...
Well, the other thing, though, is when you have a thing like a God that has no manifesting or measurable characteristics, how do you factor that into your theory or your equation?
Yeah.
How do you use the information that is not there? I mean, I don't know. It's like I had a quote here from Austin Klein's site. All such statements are causal shorthand for a more elaborate and technical statement. This alleged entity has no place in any scientific equations, plays no role in any scientific explanations, cannot be used to predict any events, does not describe anything or force that has yet been detected, and there are no models of the universe in which its presence is either required, productive, or useful.
Yep.
I mean, what are you talking about? You're saying this did it. This created the universe. Well, you've just given me no information. So anyway, how many die are in the jar?
I said 21. I'm right. Counting them. I'm not just taking your word for it.
I know. But you know there's not 150,000.
Yeah.
That's not even debatable. If anybody would believe me...
Technically, you could debate it, but right. We'd have a lot of fun with that.
It's not reasonably debatable.
Yes.
Any reasonable person would know there cannot be 150,000 die in here.
Not 150,000 that dies that
Those
size.
Die. These are the real die we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that is important to the model, is that we're talking specifically about die,
yes.
These die.
We have defined die as one of those objects that's in there.
And let's see. Okay, this is where I hope I don't make a mess.
And I don't even need to know what they're made of.
This is something else you can do with the fallacy model.
Okay.
There should be 25. Okay. What are the odds that they would fall exactly as they did?
Holy crap. I'm not good enough at math to figure that out. Actually, do you just mean what numbers are up or their actual positions?
The position counts. Position counts. This is like die 1, die 2, die 3, die 4, which throws the odds way up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you first brought this
I actually started calculating this like when I first did this. And I said, like, okay, you've got the first die, and it has 6 positions. Then you have the second die, which has 6 positions on the 6 positions. So now you're up to 36 positions.
No. That's only calculating what number is up. I'm talking about in this particular arrangement,
yeah,
the distance,
okay.
the spacing,
I was talking
the
position
position,
and
the orientation.
All right. I was looking at it in terms of like if you had 2 die and you get like a 1 and a 2,
right.
that it's not the same as a 2 and a 1. That's what I was calling position, like die 1, die
6 to the 25th, I don't know.
So it gets huge.
Yeah.
And so there's just astronomically huge odds, and you can just add more die and make it just more and more incredible. So the question here is, does the reality that there are very low odds that they would have fallen exactly as they did indicate that the outcome was impacted in some way by an intelligent designer?
No. There sure are a lot of 5s out
3s I'm seeing too. I'm thinking there must be something to that, right? I mean, otherwise, how could all those 5s have come up?
Yahtzee.
There you go. If I accept that the odds of the die falling as they did are too great to have been random, does that impart any more purpose or meaning to my existence than I had before?
No.
If it does so only in my mind, which it would, because there's no real reason it would, wasn't the capacity to overlay meaning onto an external reality always within my head, whether or not the die land without aid from a supernatural intelligence? So in other words, if I interpret this to be the product of a supernatural intelligence that created it all, still, whatever it means to me is whatever it means to me. And my life still has whatever meaning I impart. And if I find out later that it really was just random roll of dice, that there was no intelligence behind the outcome, does that mean I can't have meaning now? If I learn that it wasn't an intelligently designed roll, that means I created the meaning previously in my own head.
And yet the meaning didn't change.
Well, it can change, but the point is,
but you're the one
I made up the meaning before.
Yes.
So whatever meaning I thought I had was really out of my own mind, even when I believed there was an intelligent designer behind it. If there really isn't, I'm making that meaning up. And so after I find out there isn't one, my life can have just as much made-up meaning now as it did before. Yeah. There's no reason that my life must be stripped of meaning because that aspect of my view changes. Anyway, this is part of what you were talking about before, and that's why I brought up templates, about the card template. If you weren't familiar with the game of poker and someone dealt you that royal flush, it would be meaningless to you. You might see the pattern of hearts, or it just depends. If you've never seen cards before and you don't know what they look like, it's the first time you've looked at a deck of cards, you don't even know that there aren't hearts. You just got a handful of hearts. According to what you know, it could all be hearts. The whole deck could be hearts.
Right.
So you have no idea about the meaning behind it unless you already have a preconceived template of what is a good poker hand. And so if we had a template laid out on the table, and then these die hit, and it was exactly like the template on our first roll, that would be pretty amazing.
It'd be whatever the odds are.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now we got a template.
But it's still possible.
Yes, it's possible, but we have a template. Mm-hmm. So we're saying, what would be the odds of rolling this? And then we roll it. It's like, holy crap, we really rolled that. I would be blown away if I was able to roll that on a first try. But the thing that gets me is, without a template, there's no, the full house is not significant if there's no full house template in your brain. And if there's no template laying on this table to match these die, any roll is just as good as any other roll. It's just as many odds to roll this pattern as to roll this pattern. There's nothing significant about one pattern or the other except in your brain.
Right.
And that is something I come across a lot with